Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV. Tonight, the horror show at Extreme Rules spills on over into Monday Night Raw, proving without a shadow of a doubt that every single show that is produced by the WWE is in fact a horror show from start to finish, full of illogical booking, some really terrible scripting choices, and matches that were just meh, because nothing means anything anymore. So what are we going to do? What we do best. We are going to point out all of the things wrong with this show, all that, and then some, and we are going to do it by bringing the hammer down like nobody else. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and you are watching the Monday Night Raw review and reaction show, which is going to be scarier than anything you've seen at the horror show last night, for sure. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Who is writing this show? We all speculate that it's Vince, and we speculate that it's Bruce, but you all know that there's a whole staff of people that come together and put together these scripts for these superstars to come off as generic, meaningless, lifeless characters that have no real train of thought of their own. You got guys like Cedric Alexander and Ricochet coming out there talking like ridiculous teenagers, and then when MVP says, "You young kids are going to learn to eat some humble pie," Ricochet's response to that is, "We are not the ones that are going to eat humble pie. You are the ones that are going to eat humble pie." Really? Who's writing this show? Kanye West? What is going on in that writer's room? How do you have Shayna Baszler standing there going, "Well, what that means is I'm going to be like a shark in the water when there's prey in the water"? First of all, sharks don't give a shit about the prey in the water. The phrase is, "I'm going to be hunting you down like a shark when there's blood in the water." Blood in the water is the proper terminology and phrase you idiots were looking for with your college education and your stupid TV writing degrees, and you don't know how to write a wrestling show because wrestling is not traditional television, and it's just absolutely train wreck, ridiculous high school play garbage. I feel like it's being written by teenagers. Vince McMahon has just given up. He just throws out whatever the hell they think of on the fly. They're tearing up scripts for SummerSlam. They're tearing up scripts for Raw minutes before they go on the air, more often than not. And we get these mishmash, jumbled up, stupid shows where their big decisions are, well, let's continue pushing Dolph Ziggler, even though he became the biggest loser in all of pro wrestling last night when he couldn't win a match that was pretty much handing him the championship on a silver platter. And then we have to see Dolph Ziggler with his Lion King blowout coming out here and telling Drew McIntyre the same shit we keep seeing every single time Drew McIntyre comes out, only this time he's like, "Oh, I was this close." At no point in that match were you even this close to winning that matchup, you fool. And we have to sit there and watch Dolph Ziggler look and sound and act like a complete buffoon week after week after week, as if he has no idea he just got his ass kicked 24 hours ago with one kick. He gave Dolph Ziggler everything he had, and he lost with one kick. Drew McIntyre, at least, was written to have the sensibility to tell Dolph Ziggler, "Listen, jerk off, you lost last night. I've got nothing else I need to do with you. You are embarrassing yourself." These are literal words that came out of Drew McIntyre's mouth. He told Dolph Ziggler what we've all been telling Dolph Ziggler for the last year and a half. You are embarrassing yourself in there. Sure, you're good. You are excellent in the ring. You are a fine talent. You're a great hand. But just like you yourself said in your own promo, you just can't get the job done. You're just always this close, but you can't wrap it up. So what does the WWE do to try to make this interesting? They don't just wrap it up. They don't have Dolph Ziggler bring out the next challenger, maybe some new person to challenge for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. No. We're going to do what we just did, but we're going to do it in reverse. We're going to do it in reverse. We're going to have Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre. But Drew's going to pick the stipulation, and Drew's not going to tell Dolph the stipulation. He's going to do to Dolph exactly what Dolph did to him. This is compelling TV to you morons. Let's hit the same track that nobody liked the first time, but we'll play it backwards, and maybe it'll sound better this time. The only good thing that happened on this show is Randy Orton punted the Big Show right back to the Big Show on Netflix where he could stay for the rest of his career. This is not a show that I will watch, by the way. I've never seen one episode of it, and I won't. Okay, it's not worth your time. The best thing about the Big Show is maybe it'll keep him away from WWE. Retire. Stay retired. This was just worthless. The whole program with Randy Orton was worthless. He was a filler in-between program before we get Randy Orton to Drew McIntyre, I guess. But until then, Drew McIntyre still has to play with Dolph Ziggler for some reason, because they have no fucking idea what they're doing over there. You have so much talent on your roster. Kevin Owens is waiting in the wings. Waiting in the wings. But you're going to give us Dolph Ziggler again versus the champ. Aleister Black is wasting his time defending the honor of Rey Mysterio, which now should not even be a thing. Rey Mysterio is going to either be gone or he's going to come back with a patch on his eye. I don't know. But seeing Aleister Black versus Seth Rollins for the umpteenth time in the last 3 weeks does nothing for me. Oh, this is a main event match. This could be a SummerSlam match. Yeah, it could be. It might have been if they didn't already just shove it down your throat and make the taste of it just boring. And the match itself between Seth Rollins and Aleister Black was awful. It was not good. It was spotty, it was boring, and it was a little bit weird at the end. The finish just was very poorly timed. Aleister Black looked like he was just sitting there waiting for Seth Rollins to decide to finish this thing. Some terrible stuff. But while we're talking about the Messiah, the Monday Night Vomit Machine, the guy with the weakest stomach in all of pro wrestling that he can't hold down his lunch because somebody popped a plastic eyeball out of their face, we were told that last night, this is what Todd Phillips said on the commentary. Rey Mysterio's eye was not severed, which come on. Well, I'm not saying that, that I'm not calling them out because they didn't have a severed eye. Okay, but let's just look at the logic here. The point of the match was to extract. Extract means to remove, take out. Not pop out and let it hang and dangle. It means to take it out. Extract. If you extract your tooth, you don't pull it out halfway and then leave it there wiggling for the tooth fairy to come pull out. Extract. Remove. It's very simple. Check out Webster's, the dictionary that's been around for 1,000 years probably. So the only reason I bring this up is because if you think about it, if Rey Mysterio's eye was still connected and no tissue was severed and blah, 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 then Seth didn't really win, did he? Did he? No. Rey Mysterio's eye partially, almost, became extracted by the events of last night's eye for an eye debacle. So did he really win? I don't know. That's what happens when you book yourselves into an unwinnable situation. There was no way they were going to pull that off and have it pay off the way it needed to in the end. And now Seth Rollins and Aleister Black seem to be set on course against one another. Seth Rollins attacked Aleister Black's arm for the entirety of their matchup, and then went on to attack it even further when it was over with the assistance of his little buddy Murphy. And now we're going to have an arm for an arm match. Right? Is that what we're going to do? Seth Rollins, every time he fights somebody, he's going to pick a body part, and then they're going to come to a conclusive match where it's going to be my foot versus your foot. It's going to be my arm versus your arm. You got to remove the arm from the socket to win the match. Is that going to be Rollins' gig? All I really wanted to see after that eye for an eye match concluded was to have Seth Rollins walking around with an eye patch, doing his best Captain Hook, Captain Ahab, Captain Messiah, whatever you want to call him, and being the WWE's resident pirate. What the hell was that pirate guy's name from a couple of years back? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I can't even remember. The guy that was with William Regal, dressed up like Jack Sparrow, swinging down into the entrance ramp. You know who it is. Paul Burchill, the pirate Paul Burchill. That's what I wanted to see out of Seth Rollins. But instead, we're just seeing the same old shit. Let's talk about same old shit. What the hell are they doing with MVP and his group? All right, first of all, the Hurt Business is not a great name. It's not a terrible name. It's not the worst name they've ever come up with, but they could have done a little bit better. That's something that he could use as a catchphrase. You know, we are in the Hurt Business. I get it, but it just kind of sounds a little bit cringy, and it doesn't kind of fit when I look at this new trio, and I don't know if this is going to still be a thing next week, because apparently the Hurt Business is MVP, Bobby Lashley, and the newly acquired Shelton Benjamin. We don't know much about how MVP acquired Shelton Benjamin. All we know is that for some reason they helped Shelton Benjamin win the 24/7 piece of crap, hey, look at me, I'm a clown, avocado-colored, gold-plated, I mean absolutely nothing to wrestling championship. And Shelton Benjamin wins that, thanks to the help of his new buddies in the Hurt Business. And then they go out there and they have this promo in which they're confronted by Cedric the Entertainer Alexander, Pretty Little Ricky Ricochet, and a returning Mustafa Ali. It was great to see Mustafa Ali back in a wrestling ring. Kid did not miss a beat in the entirety of the match. I did not care for a six-man in this moment. I never care for a six-man match, but I was happy for the return of Mustafa Ali. But I'm watching this match and I'm like, how are they going to get out of this? Because here you have, in one segment, established a new heel faction. Or at least appeared to establish a new heel faction. And simultaneously had a big-time new name. New but old, but new name coming back to Monday Night Raw in Mustafa Ali. How do you book that finish? You're going to want Mustafa Ali to get the win on his return to make him look strong, at least if you give a shit about his character and are looking to push him in any sort of a positive direction. You also should be looking to make this Hurt... I keep wanting to call them the Hurt Locker. That just keeps wanting to come out. That's a movie from like 10 years ago, and they are the Hurt Business, all right? So you want to establish them as a dominant heel faction, somebody to be scared of, a grouping of gentlemen that you should be worried about. They were even spotted talking to Farouk, Ron Simmons, earlier in the evening. And it seemed they didn't let us hear very much. But it seemed as if he was trying to mentor them, tell them, you know, you're going about this wrong, there's another way to do it. And I don't know what it is they're going to do, but it's definitely making me think they were going to get this Hurt Locker faction, the Hurt Business. But the Hurt Business got shut down by Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, and Ricochet. Cedric and Ricochet have been lovable losers on the WWE forever, and now Ali, I guess, was the missing piece, and now they'll get some wins. I don't know. But what does that say about MVP and his new little faction? But they continue to go about this whole thing with MVP wrong. He should not be in the ring. They didn't need to make that a six-man. All they needed to do was have Shelton and Bobby Lashley versus Cedric and Ricochet. And save Mustafa Ali for something else. Or maybe you have the Hurt Business beat down Cedric and Ricochet. They lose the match. The Hurt Machine Business is just running on all cylinders. They're beating up these little guys. And then all of a sudden, Mustafa Ali comes out of nowhere, makes the save like a superhero, helps his two friends. And then you could set up the 6-man for next week. That's how you should book it. That's how it should have been booked. Or at the very least, at the end of this match, one of those 3 men on the babyface team should have turned and joined with MVP. Preferably Cedric. I think it would have been great if Mustafa Ali, even on his return, was in this match and then got screwed over by Cedric Alexander, which would set up a feud between the two, and we could get Cedric versus Mustafa. You got Bobby Lashley, and you got MVP fighting with Ricochet, R-Truth, and everybody else in between. And I think it would have been a much better way to go about it. But instead, we got your traditional WWE. Here's a 6-man. We're going to just have winners and losers. We're not going to establish any momentum. And this is why there are no superstars. This is why nobody feels like a John Cena feels. Or when you think about upper echelon talent like an Undertaker and a Triple H and Stone Cold and Rock. They don't exist anymore. Because the WWE forgot how to make them. And they keep giving us dog shit like this. Talking about my favorite movie, Dumb and Dumber. Oh, your career might have been relevant back in 2006 when Dumb and Dumber was funny. What? I'm paraphrasing here. But MVP called these 2 kids Dumb and Dumber. And then they went off on how 2006 called and they want their reference back. And it's not from 2006. It's from 1994. I remember it very clearly. I was a high school senior. It was in my Walkman. The soundtrack to that movie was in my Walkman. I was burning it out every day going to school on the trains here in New York City. I know that soundtrack like the back of my hand. It was 1994. If you're going to reference something, at least reference it correctly. Do a little bit of research. You don't have to go far. You can even pull it off Wikipedia because it's actually the right date. But you don't want to even get your shit right. You want to write clunky lines, stupid cliche phrases, none of which apply to what's happening on our wrestling show. My favorite part of this show was seeing Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair came out. She ripped a fire promo in a little interview segment. She scared the snot out of Peyton Royce, who is here by herself this week. Billie Kay, I guess, is hanging out with Apollo Crews and everybody else that's suddenly gone missing. If you get my drift, what I'm trying to say there. But this was all to promote a matchup tonight between Ruby Riott and Peyton Royce. Ruby Riott defeats Peyton Royce in a fairly quick matchup, but the keynote thing to think about here is this is Ruby Riott's first singles win on Monday Night Raw in over a year. Over a year, like a year and 4, maybe a year and 5 months since the last time this girl has won on Monday Night Raw, and it's a long time coming. I know she was out with injury for a while, but that is no excuse. She has been back for months, and it's taken only up until last week for her to get a win, and she didn't even get the win last week. Bianca Belair did all the work, and Ruby Riott just kind of stood there looking like a jerk. But this week, she comes out there. She handles her business. It wasn't the worst match in the world. It was actually decent. I've told you guys all the time that Peyton Royce is good. I feel like she is brought down in this tag team scenario, not because of her tag team partner specifically, but because I think she'd be great as a single star. She has some talent. She has some potential. And she has gotten much better from when we first seen her a couple of years ago. And Ruby Riott's always been right up there as far as performance for me. I feel like she's gotten the short end of the stick just like Naomi has for the last couple of years. So it was good to see Ruby Riott get a win. What is it going to mean? Nothing, because Shayna Baszler's waiting in the wings to just tear into anybody. Somebody anybody at all. It'll be interesting to see where this goes as the rest of the night, with the women, gets a little bit crazy. Once again, we'll get to that in a minute, but we're not going to overstep the tag team division, which is a hot mess. Your tag team champions, the Street Profits, went up against their challengers, their only challengers outside of the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders. There are no other friggin' tag teams on Monday Night Raw. So, of course, WWE opts with the decision to let's just have our tag teams go at it tonight. It's going to be a non-title match, right? So everybody that watches wrestling is going, oh, non-title. Even I was under the impression that Garza and Andrade were going to beat the champs tonight to establish the fact that they are really the number one contenders, even though they've already done that by beating the snot out of the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders. That was not the case. The WWE didn't do what they always do, but what they did was exponentially worse, because now you took the only people who have a claim to challenge for the championships and you wiped them right off the deck because they lost clean and in an impressive manner. Montez Night Raw, baby. Montez Ford is fantastic, and his frog splash off the top rope is more than a 5-star. It's like a 10-star frog splash. The guy went up like 20 feet in the air off the top rope and then totally spun his body mid-air. I don't know how you do these type of things. It was absolutely impressive physical feat, and it got them the win. But now, who's going to challenge the Street Profits? Are we going to go back to the Viking Raiders after they just lost to Garza and Andrade for the last couple of weeks and lost to the Street Profits multiple times and made to look like idiots in the best of 7? Hey, you could do, I could do this and that better. That was a lot to get out in one breath. But that's how frustrating this is. What's left for Angel Garza and Andrade? There's nowhere else for them to go except against each other, right? So you assume that this loss, at the very least, is going to spark that up. But now, no. We go to the back, and they're in this little segment where Zelina Vega's yelling at her with her little Latina fire, and she's cursing them out and like, you idiots, what's the matter with you? Blah, 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 I gotta do all this work now. And they were like, hey, listen, look, we're on the same page now. We're cool. And then they end up showing up during the unsanctioned match to beat up the Big Show for Rndy. Why? What? I thought we were past that. Oh, Randy Orton's gonna make a Evolution 2.0. Evoluciones. You get it? Because they're Latin. No. I don't want to see that. Randy Orton's just fine doing what he's doing right now. His promos have been fantastic, and I am forever grateful for him for removing the Big Show from the Monday Night Raw roster for at least the very near future. Because the last thing we need is more guys from the Attitude Era and beyond showing up on this show, taking matches from guys that I would much rather be seeing. So I'm happy about that. What I'm not happy about is the fact that we got an impromptu Kyrie Sane versus Bayley match tonight. And it's all off of the back of the incident that happened last night. Now, I am happy to say that my initial feelings on the Sasha Banks Asuka match from last night, where I thought Sasha got seriously hurt, which caused all that really weird chaos at the end of the match, that's not the case. It's not the case. The girl looked healthy as a horse. She wasn't in action tonight. She came out wearing stilettos. You can't be wearing fucking stiletto heels with a bump knee. All right? And she's got like 90,000 pounds of gold around her waist and her shoulders because she's got her belt and the tag belt and Bayley's belt while she's standing on the outside. Sasha Banks is fine, which means she's a tremendous actress. And she got me on the hook last night, and I bit. Just a little bit. And I'm not afraid to admit that, because that means they're doing a good job. But what they're not doing a good job with is telling stories here because it was very convoluted at the end, and you had the green mist spit, and everything just went fucking wonky. So we all knew that Sasha Banks wasn't really the champion, but she showed up tonight pretending to be the champion. She was looking finer than $1 million bill, and it was great. Her attitude was great. Her and Bayley, I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing them so many times, over and over and over again. I don't care how entertaining they are. In fact, they're so overexposed that these girls are forgetting their lines. Bayley delivered the first part of her promo twice. If you missed that, I didn't. I thought I accidentally hit the rewind button. Well, you know that button on your remote that goes back about 30 seconds? I had to go and double check and make sure that I didn't do that. The girl lost where she was going, reset, and said the same paragraph, and then went on with it. I guess she remembered and was able to go with it. This is not a live show. Why didn't they cut that? Are they not paying attention? They're just watching maybe with the sound off, and they're watching Bayley just blah, 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 and they're not listening to the words coming out of her mouth, so they didn't realize that was a big fuck up? What is wrong with these people? Terrible. Terrible stuff. And the match that ended up Bayley versus Kyrie Sane, not the best, if I'm being honest. Kyrie Sane finally gets a win. Are we supposed to care? Kyrie Sane, it has been reported that tonight might be her last night on Monday Night Raw. And good for her if it is. Because she's going to get out. She's going to escape, and she's going to go be awesome somewhere else. She's going to go be how awesome she's supposed to be. How do you let her... But at the same time, you wait until the girl's leaving to let her beat a champion. She had a singles match with a world champion tonight and won. Which normally, in WWE's logic, qualifies you as the number one contender. But now Kyrie Sane is going to be leaving. Or maybe she's not. Maybe it's a swerve. Maybe they got her to sign. Or maybe they're letting her leave with a victory over their company champion. That doesn't sound like a very WWE thing to do. So I'm not sure where this is going. But I'm sure we'll find out over the course of the next couple of days. What is a very WWE thing to do is to bring a McMahon to the screen. But I was appreciative of this in this moment because that's what actually has been lacking. Now, I don't mean a McMahon has been lacking. We don't need a McMahon to be the authority, but you need somebody around. You need a William Regal. You need somebody to be calling the shots, somebody to be there when shit like that goes down, to be able to mediate, moderate, and solve the problem. And it's sorely missed. Now, let me be perfectly clear. I don't want to see the return of people like John Laurinaitis. I don't want to see another Commissioner Foley. I don't want to see Stephanie or Shane or Vince in any capacity. But if you could get somebody a little bit younger, somebody a little bit more new, to be running the show in a fair way, I'd be all for it. I thought Kurt Angle was going to be great, but that definitely blew up in our face. For sure, as fans, it made Kurt Angle's value go down because he's not as good at the entertainment part as he is at the wrestling part. He used to be, but he's not anymore. So here's a question for you guys. Who would you guys pick? Out of everybody we can pick right now, and the floor is open to anybody, who do you think should be the general manager of Monday Night Raw? Or of the WWE. He could be both shows. He or she could be both shows. This way, when shit goes down, you have a character that you could pull out of the woodworks and solve your issues. And not just have everything feel like random chaos with nobody in charge. Shit just happens. Nothing feels official. Nothing feels very sport-like. Everything just is thrown at you. Like a variety show. And not a sports-themed wrestling show. That's not what I signed up for. And then, of course, as we already mentioned to you guys, Randy Orton defeated the Big Show Bye-bye, Big Show. At least we can hope it's bye-bye, Big Show. Go back to your big show on the Netflix where people can watch you and laugh. Where they're supposed to. You shouldn't be in the WWE having people watching you and laugh at you while you're in the ring. When you're doing comedy shtick, sure, but not while you're in the ring. People are laughing at the fact that they are bringing guys in like the Big Show. We've seen Christian back tonight to keep Edge relevant on the show, I guess. He's trying to put over how dangerous Randy Orton is because he got his head punted in 2 weeks ago. Very, very typical, very bullshit stuff. Bullshit stuff from Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins trying to blame us for what he's done. Are you guys happy with what you've done to me? What does it mean? All I wanted to see is if he was going to puke again when they re-showed the footage. Monday Night Raw, once again, was another awful, awful experience. Another horror show, courtesy of the WWE. And that was it. That was Monday Night Raw. Underwhelming, uninteresting, and makes me unhappy. Unhappy. And I'm sure it made you unhappy too. Hopefully I made you happy the way we brought the hammer down on Monday Night Raw, as nobody else can do. And I want to thank you guys, as always, for your continued love and support of this channel. If you did not watch the hammer come down on the horror show at Extreme Rules, then you're missing out. And it is live on the channel right now. I will leave it up in the annotations up above. You can also check out, if you got a couple of minutes to spare, a really quick video. One of my favorite things to do is draw. Everybody knows that by now, and that's why we have the Sledgehammer series. And I decided to try my best to draw the Dead Man, the Phenom, the Undertaker, and you can watch him come to life on the page right now. That will be linked in the annotations up above. The Sledgehammer series presents Drawing the Undertaker with these very fingers right here. Go check it out right now. Leave a like on that and this and every other episode of this show that you watch, as long as you're having a good time. I need to know, YouTube needs to know, so that they can continue to push this video out there, and you can help that by smashing that thumbs up, sharing this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, but most importantly, subscribing to this show, becoming a Sledgehead yourself, ringing that notification bell so you don't miss a thing whenever a video does drop on this channel. We have a couple more Undertaker-themed videos coming to Sledgehammer TV to commemorate the most memorable career in all of professional wrestling, a man that has meant the world to me personally as a fan of the industry, and he deserves it. You deserve it. And we are going to check it all out together. As anniversary month is rolling on in, we're about to enter the beginning of our 5th year on YouTube, and we are so glad you guys are still here with us. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.